because the icebox people had a temperament among themselves. Ultimately, they turned on themselves. World War I, World War II was the icebox people turning on themselves. In Germany, a wild man named Hitler needed a scapegoat whose country had been made a scapegoat for being blamed for First World War. A scapegoat needed a scapegoat. And one of the saddest things in the world is a scapegoat looking for a scapegoat. He looked around in Germany and saw some Germans seemingly more prosperous than some others, seeming to be dominating the trades, the communication, and the movies. And he saw some Germans who wanted the same jobs. Now, among the people of the Hebrew faith called Jews, these were the most integrated Jews in the world. Now, you people with your integrated mind, you better watch this. Most of their daughters were married to the blonde, blue-eyed German.
All right.
They were dismantling themselves as Jews and becoming more pure Germans, to the point where other Jews throughout the world began to despise them. When Hitler came down on them, at first other Jews said, "Good Father, they don't want to be Jews? All right, let him have them." So when this killing got into thousands and thousands, this is getting too serious. So he tried to make a deal with them and made a deal with some of them. Then some of them went to him and said, "If we could just save our young people, our intellect, and our rich people, we can let you go in the rest." He listened to the deal, but he didn't buy the deal. The main thing I want you to get it through your mind is that of the great Holocaust in history, numerically, this was a minor event in comparison. I am not saying there was anything good about it, because there was not. I'm not saying I approve of it, because I do not. I'm not saying I'm sympathetic toward it, because I do not sympathetic. I'm not sympathetic to it. I'm saying it's one of the great tragedies of human history, and every person with their humanity intact must, by virtue of having your humanity intact, be against it. And I'm willing to weep for 6 million when you weep for my more than 100 million. After the end of slavery, the Belgians killed more people, twice more than that, in the Congo, and slavery was over. In the Pacific, off the coast of Australia, the place called Tasmania, the British killed every man, woman, and child. There is not a person on the face of the earth who can say, I'm a descendant of a Tasmanian, because they are all dead. They didn't spare any of them. My main point is that when our Holocaust started, everybody in Europe benefited by it, profited by it. I have no literature where anybody, including the victims of Hitler's Holocaust, protested the atrocities that was being visited upon us. We were willing to weep for them, but we have no record where they wept for us. People of the Hebrew faith in England, in the colonial countries, played the same role as other people in that country. Slavery was a business, and they were business people. They played the same role as the other people in those colonial business countries. And this is well documented. I am not saying that we need to get into any headlong battle against people of the Hebrew faith. We do not have time to dissipate energy that way. To reclaim Africa and build Africa, going to take all the energy that we can spare to build a real African nation other than those imitation European states. Because you got African states ruled by Africans with African bodies and European minds and sometimes European wives. One of the main reasons you do not understand the nature of the atrocities visited upon us. We are the victims of our own innocence. We didn't expect it. We were so unsuspecting. Some of us participated in it without knowing what we were doing. And to understand it, there's 200 years of history you're going to have to look at. 1400 to 1600. It's the major turning point in world history. At the end of these 200 years, the world would never, ever be the same again. Europe had come out of its bag. It had rescued itself at our expense. It had learned longitude and latitude again. Had learned how to handle ships. They had, in their search for Asia and the spices and the sweets of Asia, they had discovered Africa en route, the greater prize. They settled some of the arguments among themselves. 1415, Portugal won a minor war and took a small area in Morocco called Ceuta. Since 7/11, when the Africans and the Arabs had taken over Spain, Europe had lived in fear of the so-called hated infidel, the Arabs and Islam. But the military arm that held Spain for the Arabs being basically Africa. Europe is going into its famine period after the drainage of its economics from the so-called Crusades. If you think that has something to do with holiness, you have misread history. The Crusades came about at a time the church was playing a con game on the people of Europe. And the people was about to revolt against that con game. The church had discovered something called purgatory. Uncle Will and Aunt Jimmy did not go to heaven, had to stop off in purgatory. Now if you give the church enough money, they're going to pray them out of purgatory into heaven. In this way, the church was raising money for luxurious living of the priests, big cathedrals, the chancellery office. The church was getting rich. Also, the church was beginning to benefit from the early slave trade, where the church was getting its share per head. Greedy for more money. An offbeat beatnik hermit, Peter something, went across Europe, said that they're keeping us from visiting the holy places, rescue the Holy Grail in the hands of the infidel Arabs. The Grail wasn't lost in the first place, wasn't holy in the second place. A whole lot of jive. An Arab or Persian, whoever he was, named Saladin, that I wish he had minded his own business, he didn't want those Europeans over there because they were a little bit smelly and spreading diseases. Although the Africans had introduced them to something called soap, they still weren't using it. So in Cecil B. DeMille's picture, they win, but in real life, a lot of the Crusades got hell beat out of them. This went on until the last crusade, the Children's Crusade. That was infiltrated by adult slave traders. Some of the children froze to death, got to the warm waters of the Mediterranean. They sold them to the very infidel Arabs that they were fighting. Now, had the African understood the nature of the European mind, he would have known automatically that man was going to enslave him. But he didn't know that. So unsuspecting, tragically innocent. But the European mind was being prepared to enslave the African. The aftermath of the Crusade. 1455, Spain and Portugal goes to the Pope. The fight between the Africans and the Arabs in Spain had weakened the hold on Spain. one half of Spain is out from under the domination. Spain and Portugal, under African domination, began to have aspirations of its own. Portugal had freed itself from the domination in 1240. Now Spain is partly free of this domination. They go to the Pope, then the major arbitrator of disputes in Europe, and the Pope would tell them, you take the East, you take the West, you two good Catholic nations, stop fighting among yourselves. Then he would say, but a whole lot of people wish he never said, because they want to deny it, although it's so well documented they can't deny it. You are both authorized to reduce to servitude all infidel people. A lot of people get ill at ease when I say in their proclamation of what they intend to do, all religions are good, but in looking at what they actually do, all religions are godless and atheistic. All religions, East and West, have sometimes called on their deity to bless their enslavement of other people. The enslavement of a people is an ungodly act. You cannot be God and an enslaver at the same time. Atheistic meaning no God. If he's with you in enslaving other people, then you have taken the godliness away from him. This is why the brothers in Islam are ill at ease about the Arab slave trade that is still going on, but they choose to ignore. And when you furnish the documents on it, they turn off their antennas and walk away. But the Arab slave trade that had been going on for 1,000 years before the European slave trade partly set up Africa for the European slave trade. 1482, a little-known expedition came along the coast of West Africa and forced themselves in, began to build these slave forts. Christopher Columbus was in that expedition. He says, as man and boy, I sailed up and down the Guinea coast for 23 years. What was he doing with the Portuguese up and down the coast of West Africa for 23 years? He was in the early Portuguese slave trade that started as early as 1438. Now on Columbus Day, when you're stepping high, please remember that. Our tragic Holocaust did not get well underway until 1492. You cannot have a slave trade unless you have something for slaves to do. With the opening up of the plantation system of the New World, the forest is to be pushed aside. You had plenty of labor. With the wholesale murder of the Indian population, the indigenous population, and the replacement of that population with the Africans on the insistence by Christopher Columbus. Read Father Bartholomew de las Casas' work, the devastation of the Indies, in another work, little known by Father de las Casas, called Tears of the Indians. But what is forgotten is the fact that for 1,000 years in inner West Africa, called the Western Sudan, great independent states still existed with universities, great scholars at Saint-Corey, the city of Genie, or Dijon, almost a university city, the great administrative city of Gao, Timbuktu being the major administrative commercial city, ruled over by caliber African rulers. Sunni Ali Bar, Muhammad bin Abdullah, Muhammad Ituri, between them maybe two of the finest rulers in Africa in the last 2,000 years. Ruling states much better than the Europeans of that day. In Lady Lugard's book, A Tropical Dependency, she calls Muhammad Ituri one of the greatest rulers of state of all times. Henrik Clarke, in Travels and Discoveries in North and Central Africa, calls him one of the great civil administrators who ever lived. There's also a good biography in a book called Great Rulers of the African Past. What I'm trying to say to you is that no African state ever could rule over, invaded by the Arabs, the Greeks, the Romans, and subsequently the Portuguese, the Spanish, and the English. No African state was in chaos. These states were intact. They did not restore any order. They created disorder. They declared war on the culture. They declared war on the way of life. And the thing that's reverberating right now, which we sooner or later are going to have to deal with, our own children are going to drive us out of our home. They colonize the image of God. I started as a young Baptist Sunday school teacher. What made me have some questions that someone would write a book called the Bible that's supposed to be for the whole world. There's not a Chinese picture in it. There's not a Japanese picture in it. There's not an African picture in it. And the Bible unfolds partly in Africa. You don't see an African picture. You see Zipporah goes, Moses going down to Ethiopia marries Zipporah, the first of his numerous Ethiopian wives. Moses gets white, Zipporah gets white. You see somebody going down to Kush, present-day Sudan, they gets white. People going out to Punt, present-day Somalia, they gets white. I've traveled in all those areas, especially the Sudan. I've seen some of the most handsome blue-black people in the Sudan. If they are still velvety blue-black now, what were they 3,000 years ago? Now, what was the aftermath of our Holocaust? Far more devastating than the affair in Europe. It was the murder of hope. It was the murder of aspirations. It was the murder of potential. When you kill a man and a woman, you kill a gene pool. It's the murder of a generation. Just kill one man and one man and one woman. All right, use your imagination a little bit. One man and one woman, suppose they produce 6 children. How many children can the 6 produce? So when you kill a man and a woman, a productive man and a woman, you have killed a generation. And they killed them wantonly. They began to rape on the shores of Africa, rape on the boat, rape on the plantation. The transformation of a people. They have colonized the image of God to the point where you think no deity can look like you. They've colonized advertisement. When you look at an advertisement, some woman advertising, selling toothpaste with her perfect teeth, and she's white. That tells you that none of us have teeth good enough to advertise toothpaste. We won't advertise in stockings. And the body is white. They're saying that our women don't have good enough legs to advertise stockings. And you know that's a lie. A minority, a numerical minority, has psyched the whole world into thinking that the world waited in darkness for them to bring the light. They brought no light, no place. The greatest bunch of mass murderers the world has ever known. As a result of their Holocaust, most of the indigenous population of the Americas were destroyed. Now, thousands of them are soaked in alcohol, and some of their women are in prostitution. Everywhere they go, they bring no light, but put out the light. Very soon, we will be awakening to the fact that we are going to have to take our place in the world and build a new humanity, or there will be no future for us or the world. We owe this to our children. We owe this to generations still to come. We owe them the effort of coming together, first and foremost, among ourselves, and stopping all the silly arguments about who came from little specks of dust in the Caribbean Sea and who came from Georgia. And who came from Africa. I'm tired of hearing who is the real African. We're both victims of a historical experience over which we had no control. We have all been wounded one way or the other. We're all real Africans, and we're all victims. Let's heal our wounds and start coming together. Let's stop lying to ourselves. I finished a book called Who Betrayed the African World Revolution and 6 other major speeches. The main thing I was trying to get across is that between the Caribbean Federation movement, the Civil Rights movement, the African Independence movement, for a moment in history, our enemies thought we had the ability to come to power. We engaged in a lot of ceremony, but we didn't have the substance. But if we remember previous achievements, we might have done the whole thing differently. If we built the pyramid without an industrial complex, if the Japanese people industrialized without a single mass meeting or a single leaflet, why do you feel that you've got to talk so much when you do things? Why can't we quietly get together? If you're going to unite the African people of the world, why do you have to shout it all over the place? Just go ahead and do it. Africans had every element that went into the making of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism before the formation of these religions. They didn't dogmatize them or formalize them. They just lived it out. They had something far more pure than democracy. They didn't shout, look, Mama, I'm democratic. They just lived it out. When people began to formalize it and shout about it, I suspect they didn't believe it. Our life away from Africa has been a continuous Holocaust. And we will never be whole in the world until we realize wherever we are on the face of this earth, be it the Caribbean islands, be it the United States, be it the Pacific, our political and cultural heartbeat is Africa. Nobody voluntarily frees anybody. This is why I was totally unimpressed with the election in South Africa. Nelson Mandela has no power. He don't control his chauffeur. Let him step too far out of line. His chauffeur has a gun that white people gave him, and his chauffeur will kill him on orders of the white people. This is a case where figuratively we bet on the wrong political horse. The real liberating liberation fighter in South Africa was not Nelson Mandela, it was Winnie Mandela. When someone takes your freedom, they don't voluntarily give it back to you. The only way you can get it back is to take it back. After the African independence explosion, the Civil Rights Movement, the Caribbean Federation Movement, there were too many of us out front talking. Some of us should have been behind the scene training. Some of us should have been pulled some of these young people off the line and said that, look, soon we will be controlling nations. Oceanography for you. Medicine for you. Metallurgy for you. Airport design for you. We should not shout nation time until we are ready to do every single thing that goes into the maintenance of a nation. And once we are ready to do everything that goes into the maintenance of a nation, including standard armies, mines, we will beg no more. We will plead no more. We will cry no more. We will take back what belongs to us and march into the power arena of the world and speak with a single African voice. Our Holocaust that started 500 years ago will only end when we mastered the science of state control, harbor control, ship control, nation maintenance, nation management. We owe this to ourselves. We owe this to our children, their children, and the still more beautiful ones waiting to be born. Thank you very much.
We're going to open up now for a brief period of question and answer. If we can, please keep our questions brief. Oh, yeah.
In the question and answer period, for those of you who have questions, for everybody else, before you leave, these students worked extremely hard to raise the funds to bring Dr. Clarke. And as you clap, understand something. I know we have representatives probably for the Nation of Islam, and I'm not going to try to be like them or Jesse Jackson in making the call for funds because they have that down to a science. But there are some receptacles for donation. These aren't donations because we understand this man to be the eldest historian in our community. I mean, we'll start from the back and work your way down. That way everybody who's says, trying to make it to the library or whatever, is leaving the living library to go to the dead one, will be able to contribute some money on the way out. So get all the way back there. Everybody dig deep because they need some help to put this over the top. Now you want to come on and moderate the question and answer period? Yes, sir. Oh, yes. Oh, also, one other thing. The graduate students in African American Studies will be sponsoring a lecture by Dr. Theophile Obenga. The date, we're still working on that, but Dr. Obenga will be giving a lecture. Once again, as we said earlier, Dr. Obenga, of course, was the junior partner in the room in Cairo in 1974 in UNESCO when he and Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop stood and showed the African nature of Kemet. And Dr. Obenga will be lecturing. We hope everybody will come back, because if we understand Dr. Clarke, we also understand Dr. Obenga. This is the Pan-Africanism that we're talking about. These are two of the greatest minds that Africa has produced. And with that,
questions, anyone? Sister, yes, ma'am. The author of the book, The Great African Past, rulers of the great rulers of the African past.
The book is in the series called the Zenith series, and one of the editors is Elliot Skinner. It's an edited work. It deals with several rulers, about 6.
Right, question? Yes, ma'am.
I would like to ask elaboration on a point that was made in another speech you gave before about a war or conference between European leaders about the carving up of African during colonialism. If you could elaborate more on how that happened, what happened, etc. I think it was a conference.
That was the Berlin Conference, 1884, 1885, when the countries in Europe who had not had a piece of Africa got a little angry, led by King Leopold of Belgium, got together, called it the rest of Africa. And, so they gave Belgium the Congo, they gave the French Equatorial Africa, and they gave the Germans 4 colonies, the Cameroon, Tanzania, Southwest Africa, and Togo. And there's several books on it called The Partitioning of Africa. That's information on that subject is easy to find. And look in a good library, look in a book called Partitioning of Africa.
Yes, ma'am.
Ask him to repeat his latest book, Who Betrayed the African War Revolution?
Who Betrayed the African War Revolution is published at Kent State, Afro-American Department. Okay. And My Life in Search of Africa was published at the Africana Studies Center at Cornell University.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I was just wanting to elaborate on the so-called slave trade that's going on in Arabia.
Well, there's nothing to elaborate on other than the fact that it never stopped. And the Arabs are traditional slave traders, and slave trading is a part of what they call their culture. And they're bold and totally unashamed of it. And they've got African collaborators. Very often Africans going on the Hajj take their Christian servants on the Hajj and sell their Christian servants into slavery. And some of these people coming from northern Nigeria. This has been going on for quite a while. The United Nations has a lot of good information on it. If you check the United Nations publication, look at the publication called Slaves Today. Look at the United Nations document called UNESCO document 2. And check out the article called Slavery in the Indian Ocean.
Yes, ma'am. Shh. Go ahead, sis. We're going here, then over here.
My question is, I'd like to hear his comment on the genesis of what's going on in the Afro-American community versus the drugs, Afro-Americans and women being killed, and his kind of equation, how we can stop that situation.
Did you hear that, Dr. Clarke? The genocide in the community, how to stop drugs.
Well, you use
I'm sorry. The question again was in terms of the genocide against African people, African crime, the drug epidemic. How do we begin to answer those, get those solutions to how we stop it?
Look, the great profit in drugs is not made in our community, and the drugs profiteers in our community is the third-hand people. So you get across no big money in drugs being made in our community. And our community should get at the drug dealers. And we need to get at the mind of the drug takers. And what troubles people to go into drugs? If you love yourself, you're not going to feed poison in your vein. Why drugs now? The government deliberately let drugs into our community. This began during the war, and almost in agreement with the mafia to let them flood our community with drugs. The government is going to deny it, of course, but the documentation is there.
Go ahead, come here, then back here.
I wanted to know how balanced is that all you think about?
I hear you, baby. Go ahead.
It's not pertaining to your speech, but I wanted to know how valid is that all you think the bill is?
Repeat.
How valid? The question was how valid, if at all, you think the bell curve, the book, I guess by Murray and Herrnstein, the book, the bell curve is.
That's very old information. That's old information. And the organization that helped to finance it is a white supremacist organization set up to get that kind of information out there. Asa Hilliard has done twice more information in that area. He debunked the whole concept of IQ and analyzes this thing. Yet Asa Hilliard's books are unread, and yet this white man buys a bestseller. All he's got is rehashed junk that we've had before. Our question is valid.
All right. Yes, sir.
No.
Good evening, Dr. Clarke. My name is Abdul. I'm from Nigeria. And I know you have one Pan-African person that you really admire in the name of Agbesi. And I'm wondering, in the light of the controversy going on in Nigeria right now, I'd like you to speak on it.
I think it is singularly unfortunate because I really believe Nigeria could have been Africa's greatest single state. It had more to work with. Navigable rivers, a good working class. It had the best educated class in all Africa. It's not only being wrecked to a great extent by Muslims from the north, but the non-Muslims in the east and south can't get themselves together either. It's also a case where the African Christian against the so-called pagan. And Africans have to behave as Africans. And they could benefit by throwing all these religions in the garbage can, at least for a while. These northerners right now, it's not only the fact that they're Muslim, but they have to be a certain kind of Muslim. Control the money and control the power. England set Nigeria up for this. I was in Nigeria when the whole document on separate states came down. England sets nations up so they can fall apart. They're experts at it.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. And then her, then Joey,
I would like to first say thank you, Dr. Clarke, for coming to speak to us. It was much needed information. My question is, you may have stated it and I may have missed it, but I was just wondering, at what point in time did Europeans begin to associate themselves with the Hebrew faith and call themselves Jews? I hope that's correct.
I heard it.
The people in Europe who call themselves Jews are Europeans who will be laterly converted to the faith. They have no direct relationship to the biblical people of the Hebrew faith. This is about 850 or thereabouts, with the pressure from the Arabs and the Africans controlling the Mediterranean. People were taking sides between the Christians and the Muslims. A group of people in Europe decided they didn't want to be on either side. So they found another option. This is why claiming homelands and prerogatives based on these old manuscripts of the Western Asian people is not valid. The European Jew is a European creation.
Take your time on that one. You take about 3 more that part, that's all right?
Yeah.
All right. We're going, Jordan, then here, then back over here. This brother's on this side.
My question was, what are your thoughts on the crisis going on in Haiti at the moment?
Crisis going on in India?
No, Haiti.
Well, the crisis going on in Haiti again.
And what do you think? Do you see any future in light of the return of the ousted President Aristide?
Well, partially. I'm not that hot on Aristide. He's just an authoritarian Catholic. I don't see a people's government emerging yet. And I see the people being dictated to, but I don't see the people taking over the reins of government. Haiti is basically a rich country, and the soil is rich, its people are good working people and handsome people. And when the United States occupied Haiti in 1914 to 1934, America installed that mulatto elite and that thug army in power. And America lent Haiti so much money, Haiti controls Haiti, have a hard time paying the interest, let alone the principal. And Haiti is still an American colony, and no matter how many lies they tell about wanting Haiti to be a democratic country, Haiti you can't be democratic when you're hungry. A Greek once said, a man plagued with hunger and cold pays no heed to God of the soul. Haiti is plagued with at least hunger. It's a beautiful island and a beautiful people, and they deserve much better than this wild card that history has dealt with it.
All right, we're going to start to calm down. I had one over here. Was it this brother right here? You can go to this brother right here. I think. Yeah, these are left.
The what now?
7th Pan-African Congress to come up in Nigeria, the Black Agenda, the Black Think Tank, and repatriation.
Well, repatriation, I have no problem with that, because I think if other people who did less are getting some kind of compensation, I think we deserve even more. Now, the 7th Pan-African, they're going to be held in Nigeria. I think we should stop talking about Pan-African Congress until we get ourselves together and get our definition together. I maintain that the Pan-African Congress of 1945 in Manchester, England was the real and the best one. Everything before that was a rehearsal. Everything after that was a fake.
I get over here for the last one because we kind of run out of time. So, go ahead.
Pleasure to have heard you and see you in person today, Dr. Clarke. My question is, if I remember correctly, in Africa World Revolution, after the crossroads, you referenced briefly that the concept of exile is a European invention. Could you elaborate that?
The concept of political exile, because the European began to develop a policy of exile, exiling so-called kings that they called chiefs, and that policy was invented to keep down revolution, and when it wasn't working, they began to slowly kill them with other people who aspired to have the chieftaincy. Yes, I think I dealt with something on the politics of exile.
I think that's going to be it for the question. We have a couple of awards. I was going to ask a question about multiculturalism. When you thought about that, but we can say that because I already know.
Thank you all for coming, first of all, and I want to thank Dr. Clarke for coming. And let's give him another round of applause. I also want to ask you to stay where you are and to present the award to Dr. Clarke, please. Thank you. As an African who came from the continent, I'm always honored to meet some of the encouraging leaders and social encouragements that we've always looked up to. As in any struggle, when we look into something, we look for encouragements. And I think Dr. Asante left, and I heard him once said that if you want courage, look into your history. And as you look to your history, I'm sure you look into our history. And when we look into your history, we look at a man like this, and we get encouraged, and we are encouraged to be standing here today. On behalf of, I almost killed it. On behalf of the African United Front, in appreciation for his scholarship, service, commitment to the African community, the African United Front at Temple University awards Dr. John Henrik Clarke, honorary founder, November 10, 1994.
You have to do the Lord see while we ask please. Thank you.
Hold up the things, y'all.
We ask that you remain seated while we exit, please. We have the aisle clear. Thank you.
I don't know, we didn't have an opening ritual of libation. I don't know how comfortable y'all are in terms of the Pan-African world, but I guess everybody knows one stanza, lift every voice and sing the national anthem. I don't call it Latin anthem. Maybe if Dr. Clarke is exiting, we can give him the send it all little rounds. Let's try to sing that song. All right then, well, Dr. Clarke, as he exits then, lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us.